When you think of the Vikings, you probably picture roaring seas, battle axes, and dragon-proud ships slicing through icy waters. But their true genius wasn't just in conquest, it was in survival. For centuries, these northern seafarers thrived in regions where the sun disappeared for months, where snow could bury homes, and where the cold could kill within hours. Yet, while the rest of Europe huddled around flickering hearths, Viking families stayed warm inside homes so ingeniously designed that, honestly, modern Arctic engineers still study their methods today. The secret wasn't magic or luck. It was architecture shaped by necessity, using local materials and natural physics to create warmth that outlasted even the fiercest winters. And the best part? Those same principles can still be used to build energy-efficient, naturally insulated shelters right now. Vikings understood the cold better than anyone, and they built with the land, not against it. The Viking longhouse was more than just a shelter. It was, well, a survival machine. Built from sod, timber, stone and turf, it looked humble from the outside, but inside it maintained a steady warmth, even when Arctic winds howled across the fjords. The real genius of the design, you see, lay in how the Vikings used the environment to their advantage. First, they built into the land, not on top of it. Many longhouses were partially sunken into the earth, a technique known as earth sheltering. This created natural insulation, since soil retains heat and shields against wind. Even just a few feet of earth around the base of a structure could raise internal temperatures by several degrees, which was, frankly, life-saving during those Scandinavian winters. By embedding their homes in the landscape, the Vikings turned the frozen ground into a thermal barrier, an idea, interestingly enough, still used in modern eco-architecture today. Tests on reconstructed turf homes in Iceland and Norway show that even in sub-zero conditions, interior temperatures could hover near 20 degrees Celsius once a central fire was burning steadily. Families slept, ate, and worked around this single fire. Animal skins and furs covered benches that ran along the walls, and the compact layout meant that body heat, fire heat, and even livestock warmth were all contained in one ecosystem. What's fascinating is that this fire design also made fuel efficient. By controlling airflow through small openings and smoke vents, the Vikings reduced heat loss and improved combustion. They burned peat, driftwood, or dried dung, materials readily available but low in energy. You know, one of the most brilliant aspects of the Viking heating system was its passive retention. Once a fire had been burning for hours, the stone hearth and sod walls would, well, absorb that heat and slowly radiate it back throughout the night. This was really the Viking version of thermal mass, using heavy materials to store warmth long after the flames died out. These days, modern architects have actually adopted the same principle in passive solar homes and off-grid cabins. By combining dense materials like stone clay and earth with efficient insulation, it's entirely possible to build a structure that maintains internal warmth with, minimal fuel. The Vikings discovered this by necessity, not theory. In places like Iceland and Greenland, where trees were really quite scarce, every bit of fuel counted. A properly built longhouse could, actually stay livable for hours after the fire burned down to embers. The same applies to modern off-grid shelters. If you combine a well-sealed structure with heavy natural materials, you'll basically mimic the thermal rhythm of a Viking longhouse. A key feature of Viking homes was well-controlled ventilation. It might sound a bit counterintuitive to let cold air into a warm space, but without it, condensation and smoke build-up could destroy the structure and even choke its occupants. Roof vents, wall cracks, and smoke holes were all strategically placed to balance oxygen intake and heat retention. Modern survival shelters still rely on this principle. A sealed shelter can trap dangerous carbon monoxide or dampness, both of which reduce heat efficiency. If you're ever building a small winter shelter or snow hut, follow the same logic. Create a small vent or air hole near the top to release smoke and moisture, and another near ground level to pull in oxygen. It's a method rooted in ancient Scandinavian engineering that still saves lives today. Perhaps you know the greatest lesson from the Viking longhouse is that it worked with nature, not against it. Every material was local, renewable, and biodegradable. The home itself was an ecosystem, sheltering humans, animals, and food stores under one roof. Heat, waste, and moisture were recycled in a continuous loop. Today, as energy costs rise and climates become more extreme, builders and survivalists are, rediscovering these methods. Earth-sheltered homes, turf roofs, and thermal mass designs are gaining popularity not just for tradition's sake, but because they're efficient, durable, and low cost. In a way, modern green architecture is, honestly, finally catching up to what Vikings mastered 1,000 years ago. If you wanted to apply this in modern times, it's best to start small. A turf-covered shed, a partially buried root cellar, or even a stone-based fire pit can all, replicate aspects of Viking design. Each of these uses the same principle: control airflow, trap radiant heat, and use the land as insulation rather than fighting against it. The Viking legacy proves that warmth is a matter of wisdom, not wealth. When we study Viking homes, we're not just looking at the past. We're studying the blueprint of sustainable living. Their shelters didn't depend on fossil fuels, generators, or high-tech insulation. They depended on knowledge passed down through generations, knowledge of earth, wind, and fire. And that's the heart of it. The Vikings thrived where others would freeze because they understood balance. Their homes were proof that survival isn't about enduring the cold, but mastering it. If you found this exploration into Viking ingenuity valuable, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning for more deep dives into the forgotten technologies that shaped human survival. Share this with a fellow history enthusiast or prepper, because the lessons of the past still have the power to keep us alive today.